Now, when it comes to Pakistan, once again, the US doublespeak is on display during US Ambassador Donald Blome's 3-day visit to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The embassy in Islamabad boasted about the ambassador's visit in a series of tweets that gave details of this trip, such as the US aid extended in the aftermath of the 2005 earthquake and the assistance to victims of the recent floods in Pakistan. However, the elaboration did not end there. The US ambassador even called the region Azad Jammu and Kashmir, an utterance that may strain US-India relations. In fact, India's foreign ministry has already raised an objection to the US envoy's visit to PoK. Blome is the second US official to visit the region.
The US ambassador to Pakistan, his recent visit and his comments to Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let me just confirm that yes, our objection to the visit and meetings in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir by the US ambassador to Pakistan has been conveyed to the US side.
Experts suggest that the US is going systematically about restoring its relations with Pakistan, something which the Trump administration had avoided since it felt that Pakistan was not being sincere in combating terrorism. Furthermore, the visit also sends a clear signal to New Delhi that Washington is likely to continue with its cat-and-mouse games in the region to keep India uncomfortable. It could also be viewed as a balancing act by Washington intended to send a signal to New Delhi. Remember, India has so far been carving out its own path when it comes to regional conflicts, be it the Russia-Ukraine war or the China-Taiwan crisis. The visit comes days after India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar said that the relationship between the US and Pakistan will neither serve the interests of America nor of Pakistan. Jaishankar made that statement after deliberations with the US officials in Washington. Earlier in April, the Foreign Ministry had not taken kindly to the PoK visit of US Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. New Delhi described her as a practitioner of narrow-minded politics. Omar had directly touched upon the human rights issue in Jammu and Kashmir, as well as the abrogation of Article 370. Speaking of US-Pakistan relations, the United States has issued an advisory for its citizens for travel to Pakistan. In the Level 3 advisory, Washington, D.C. has asked its citizens to reconsider travel to the Southeast Asian nation due to terrorism and sectarian violence. The United States has asked its citizens to specifically not travel to Balochistan and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province due to terrorism and kidnapping. The advisory says that some areas have heightened risks and that terrorist groups continue to plot attacks in Pakistan. The note mentions that transportation hubs, markets, malls, airports, universities, schools and hospitals could be terror targets, and that the US diplomats and even diplomatic facilities have been targeted in the past. It has also advised citizens to not travel to areas near the line of control. Travel by the US government personnel within Pakistan is restricted, and additional restrictions on the movement by US government personnel outside of diplomatic facilities may occur any time, depending on the circumstances. Now, for more on this story, joining us now is our correspondent Susan Tehrani from New York, and also our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik, who joins us from Islamabad. Susan, I'd like to start with you. On one hand, we can see that the US is trying to bolster its relations with Pakistan, this recent visit by the US envoy. And on the other hand, you have the US advisory against travel to Pakistan citing terrorism. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, it doesn't take anyone with a crystal ball to realize that it's not safe for those regions in Pakistan for not only U.S. citizens, but for the residents of Pakistan as well. After all, the country's interior minister just set out a warning as well. But it's significant because on the one hand, you know, it seems that the United States has been playing this cat and mouse game when it comes to Pakistan. On the one hand, you know, it comes out with this travel advisory, which is, you know, predicted. But on the other hand, you have a U.S. envoy traveling to a disputed region between India and Pakistan, which is extremely unnecessary, and it raises concern for India. It makes headlines in the region, and, you know, it really causes really friction between India and the United States, and it's completely unnecessary at a time when the United States, has strategic, reliable relationships with India. This was completely an unnecessary move by the Biden administration, considering the fact that they consider themselves diplomatic novices. It was an embarrassment. It was sort of like tabloid news. And I will tell you, it didn't get much coverage here in the United States. Right. But had it gotten coverage here in the United States, it would have definitely faced a lot of pushback from both sides of the aisle.
Right, absolutely.
For really
Susan,
interfering in something internal like this.
Right. Susan, as you've said, this was a completely unnecessary move from the US. And of course, India has raised objection to the same. Coming to you now, Anas, tell us a little bit more about the US advisory against the travel restrictions to Pakistan and how Pakistan is expected to react to the same.
Well, there are two bits to this travel advisory. First is with regards to the caution on travel in Pakistan in general, and secondly, advising not to travel in specific areas of FATA, the federally administered tribal areas, and specific areas of Balochistan, to be precise, the province of Balochistan itself. We've seen such advisories being issued time and again, not just by the US, but by other countries as well. But what we would be expecting is a response from Islamabad very soon on this, and it is likely to be on expected lines when at a time when the UN, the United Nations has made its mission in Pakistan as a resident mission. The Pakistani side would want to reiterate its commitment to counterterrorism and would want to reiterate its commitment to providing safety and security to all those who are visiting the country and to the diplomats who are stationed here. Priyanka.
Right, Anas and Susan, thank you so much for all those inputs and thanks for joining us on the broadcast. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.